How goes it, folks? Jolly Yellow talking to you. Sometimes you're listening to something and it catches your attention in such a way, the next thing you know, you're in a whole new world. Even without a video or a picture, you are still able to visualize what is going on and feel like you are part of the action. I would like to tell you about such an experience, the audio drama Sumeria. We know that gentrification is a thing in today's world, in which Black neighborhoods, those inhabitants, they find themselves being pushed out of the very neighborhoods that they built themselves, were born in, lived their entire lives, even several generations of families suddenly being uprooted and forced to have to leave just because some other folks decide they want to take control of that land and that property instead. Well, what if we're on a global level, to the point where you have Black folks who aren't just moving to another neighborhood or to another city or even another state or country, they actually have to leave Earth itself. The main cast of Sumeria is a crew of 4 who pilot the ship the Exodus. Exodus, as the name implies, where they are leaving Earth on a long-term journey to a far distant planet in hopes of finding a new refuge, a new home, a new sanctuary from the terrible situations that are plaguing Black people known as Nubians in this story on planet Earth, as they are literally being driven from their homes, from their lands, being left with next to nothing to eat, anywhere to go. So their desperation literally takes them out into space in hopes of finding a better place. Just as most gentrifiers are, they're not satisfied with just taking over what they can get their hands on at the moment. No, they're going to continue going after these folks. And what we find out, the planet that the Exodus crew lands on is not as safe and not the sanctuary that they thought it was. So I'm just going to leave it at that. So Sumeria is an 8-episode audio drama with some good sound quality. Personally, I think the dialogue is a little bit clunky and sometimes even cringe in places, but overall, I think it does a very good job of taking the very real world problem of what happens to Black people in displaced neighborhoods and puts it into an Afrofuturistic story and gives it a very strong sci-fi feel to it. So just like most science fiction, there's absolutely real world applications or understandings of what is going on. So you can relate that to, hey, this is happening in the story, but there's stuff like that happening right now in the real world. I enjoy that very much. Unfortunately, I will say this podcast was only 1 season, and with the way this 1 season ends, it was clearly meant to continue on, and it ends on a cliffhanger. So give you that warning. If you're one of those folks that's not a fan of watching something that you know ends on a cliffhanger that will never be resolved, you might want to stay away from this one. But I still say it is an excellent story. I've done a little bit of research and I've not been able to find much on this podcast except for where to find it. You can find it on most podcast providers or podcast hostings. In each episode, it advertises the website sumeriapodcast.com. That domain or that site is no longer active. Just to give you a little disclosure, this podcast was released 6 years ago. So this is actually before COVID. I haven't been able to find anything on what happened. Perhaps the crew that cast that worked on it and went their separate ways. They didn't feel that it was a strong enough presence to warrant producing season 2. I haven't been able to find anything on it. But as again I say, it was a good story, little clunky dialogue, sound effects were really nice, and also warning, there are some violent moments in this podcast, so be mindful of where you're listening to. In fact, that warning is given at the beginning of each episode. If you by chance have happened to listen to Sumeria, what did you think of it? What was your opinion on it? Would you have liked to have gotten a season 2 if you had your way about it? You folks have a good one. Jolly Yellow out.